Joining us right now, good friend of the network, my guy from Woodward Pistons, writes for the Detroit Pistons for Woodward Sports. Brandon Dent, how you doing today, Brandon?
I am doing good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. You know, we got done earlier talking about the Pistons and what they did over the weekend, and I want your thoughts on it before I drop all my thoughts, because I got mine out already, and the people, they've heard it. I'll start with this. We'll start very simple. Joe Harris, Monte Morris, what do you think of the players?
I like it. When we sat here for kind of like the better part of the last year talking Pistons, it was about, they need more NBA players on this team. And really what it says to me is that Troy Weaver is really, 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 really believing in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren. I really do. I think that's what it speaks volumes to more. This kind of internal growth thing, that's their philosophy. And I'm starting to kind of believe in that as well. Like, how is it that the Dallas Mavericks can depend on Luka Doncic, their top prize pick, but we can't sit here and fathomably think about a reality where Cade Cunningham and two other lottery picks can actually lead this team, where we can actually see a semblance of growth.
Yeah, and it's funny because you can't like anything, because if you like Joe Harris and Monte, you're an apologist. You're easily an apologist. You defend the Pistons no matter what. Like, the fact that you can't look at Monte with your own eyeballs and Joe Harris, I think they're solid basketball players on expiring contracts. Like, guys, this isn't science. Like, this is very simple. Yeah. You get two guys that can contribute to your team immediately, that shoot damn near, well, Joe Harris shot above 40, but Monte is a sneaky good three-point shooter. Like a solid backup point guard. People want to complain about Killian, you go get Monte, and they're still mad. It's like, it shows that no matter what you do, nobody's going to be happy. But the big thing is for Cam Johnson, and I'll let Sam ask about Troy Weaver, but I just want to ask you about Cam, and you can get your thoughts out.
Yeah. Cam
Johnson, you traded Joe Harris, you got Joe from the Nets, and that tells me that Troy Weaver's looking at it like, you know what, I have, super secret intel, probably that the Nets know of, but I have Monty Williams, who coached Cam Johnson. Like, he has an opinion of Cam Johnson more so than a lot of teams. Monty Williams has been with Cam for his entire career, the majority of his career. So talk to me. For Cam Johnson, I think, and I'll give you my take, and you tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm Troy Weaver, he's probably thinking, you know what? I want to maintain flexibility, because that's what Troy's done his entire tenure here. Maintaining flexibility. I get two solid contributors that are expiring next season that you can re-sign. If not, you got a better free agent class. And I don't want to overpay for Cam Johnson, because if I'm going to pay him, the Nets wanted to sign him, so you're going to have to pay him more than what the Nets paid him. But for a guy who, in his career, the most games he's played in is 66 games. Like, he's not the most healthy either. I mean, even last year, he played about roughly 60% of the season. So talk to me. What do you think the reason is? Am I crazy? Why Troy didn't pursue Cam Johnson?
No, I think that there was definitely a price point, and we all kind of sat here and bantied about it. The Nets went a little bit higher than I thought that they would for Cam Johnson, which to me, and the Blazers too, which to me leads me to believe that somebody was kicking the tire on these players, which helped to drive their value up. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons went to just try and see, because I think Troy is always looking at how he can improve this team. But the most unique thing, or the interesting thing that I believe Troy stated, is that, hey, we're going out here to have, like, big swings, big hits. Mm-hmm. And then he confirmed that big swing or that big hit or that home run was Asar Thompson. He did confirm as well, kind of after that rookie press conference, that, you know what, we're probably not destined to make a splash. Not that they were going to pull themselves out from doing something in free agency, but that he really wanted to see what these guys look like on the court, that he has a belief in them and he wants to see realistically what Monty can do. And I think that, again, that speaks volumes to that kind of trio core of Cade, Ivey, Duren, but what he actually believes Asar Thompson can bring to the court. He talked about his defensive versatility, his offensive versatility,
right? And
ultimately, we believe he's going to be somebody that's out there playing and giving it his all 82 games a year, rather than like we have to deal with or think about with Cam Johnson and the injury concerns.
Hey, Brandon, I got a question, because I don't think people even quite understand how good Monty Morris and Joe Harris have been in their careers at three-point shooting. I mean, Joe Harris, for his career, is literally 44% from three. That is scorching hot for his career. And Monty Morris, I know, Jeff, you called him a sneaky good three-point shooter. I think, with all due respect, that's underselling him a little bit. Lifetime career of 39%. How important was it for Troy Weaver to add three-point shooting to this roster, and how much better will they be at it next year as opposed to this past year?
It was one of the more important things. Obviously, we all wanted a position, a 3-and-D wing that could come in and impact right away. But if you can't get that, then you want to get shooting on this team to be able to complement your playmakers, to be able to complement the guys that will absorb a lot of gravity. You go back and you look at those Cade Cunningham highlights and look at how the defense plays him. You need shooters around him. One of the guys, honestly, who has been failed by this, even though we want more out of him, Killian Hayes has been failed by this, by having no shooters around him too. All of our guards are going to, honestly, all of our playmakers are going to take a step forward in this regard by having better shooters around them. And not just better shooters, but people who can also play make. What if the defense closes out on Morris?
Right.
Hey, I trust him with the ball in his hands, right? What is he, a career 1 turnover a game or less, a guy?
Give you about 5.5 assists a year.
Yep. That's a great turnover, assist-to-turnover ratio. So, what he's done is he's put solid basketball players out there with his young guys, and he's telling them, Cade, Ivy, Duren, go be those guys. This is where this is at. It's not saying that Troy has done the right thing yet, but as it relates to how a team is supposed to be built by year 3, by year 4, you should be depending on your lottery picks, and he's found a way to put, 4 of them on this squad in 3 years? So it's something where I think that, you wanted to be able to go out there if you could and put somebody out here that made sense, money-wise, contract-wise and whatnot. But if not, you shouldn't be sitting here like, oh, man, we don't have a number 1 draft pick in Cade Cunningham. We don't have 2 lottery picks who, if you redrafted them, they both go higher in Ivy and Duren. You know what I mean? You can't sit here and do that. Go out there and prove it now. Like, this is that kind of prove it year. No more of the foundational, or we're just putting up the walls and things of that nature. Now we're kind of like, I can kind of live in this house if I wanted to, and that's kind of where I see this thing going.
And again, just to kind of recap, Joe Harris, Monte Morris, both acquired for essentially nothing, like second-round picks, guys that are coming off the books. How much do you think a part of this is – because Stevie was very open about this for Red Wings fans, saying, I don't think it's the time yet. People want me to go all in this offseason. I don't think we're ready. And people, threw up their hands, and everybody freaked out about it.
Yeah.
DMAC and Neil hit on it, that even through 5 years, people call it a 5-year rebuild, but it's much different than that. There's context involved. Yeah. Like for Troy Weaver, and I'm not trying to compare, they're different situations, but Troy has had a lot of work to do from when he first got here till now. He's completely changed the roster. He's opened up flexibility with the cap. He finally got his head coach. Like, things are now just falling in place, and people are still going to be frustrated. But what does this mean for next season? Does it change their expectations, in your opinion, contending for the play-in?
That's what they need to do.
Okay.
That's what they need to do.
So with or without Cam Johnson, that's the goal.
That's the goal. That was their goal to start this season, and they stated that injuries were the big reason why. Now you're resetting that with a little bit more talent. And honestly, an East that doesn't look as juggernaut-ish as it did last year. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, look, go out there, set your expectations high. The players have continued to say that they're ready to compete for the play-in. You continue to hear them chirp about last year sucked. They didn't like losing. They didn't like the way that they looked. They didn't like the way that they played. They want to come out here and play better. Now, I want to be able to critique this team the right way, and I think Troy Weaver does too, and that's something that he spoke to. Wanting to be able to get these guys out there and seeing what they are, and that's where I'm not too concerned about them not really swinging big right now in free agency. They can definitely go out there at this trade deadline and move some pieces. It's interesting with the 2 players that they did sign. Is it insurance for if they actually do make a decision at the trade deadline with guys like Bojan, with guys like Killian, to get more draft capital? Troy said that by that time, they will kind of have a better feel for what they actually do need to go out there and do. Like right now, I believe the Rockets, either they are confident in what they need to put.
What do you think about that, the Rockets moves?
That's what I was going to say. I believe that they're confident in what they believe they need to put around their young guys because they've seen their young guys play. They know what they're going to be. We know what some of our young guys are going to be, but we need to see kind of the core of this team play before Troy can actually go out there and make that move. I firmly believe that if Cade Cunningham did not get hurt this year and we got an opportunity to kind of see all these guys play, that this offseason would have looked more similar to the Rockets one, But since you still have to kind of understand what this team is, and you also don't have a lot of time, the way the windows are set up, I would not be surprised or shocked if he just takes a look at this team for the first half of the season and then decides, you know what, this is the direction we need to move in trade-wise, acquisition-wise, draft-wise, or whatnot.
And I think the difference is with Troy, like, yeah, when he signed Jeremy Grant it was $20 million annually, and it was like a 3-year deal, whatever, for $60 million. Everybody was like, wow. But then you think about it, that deal, you can move. You can move Jeremy at $20 million. It was shown. He did it. How in the hell are the Rockets going to move Fred VanVleet if they need to at $40 million? And how are they going to move Dylan Brooks at what he's getting paid? Like, I get why. Listen, you're going all in. You had money to spend, but just because you have money doesn't mean you need to spend it. I think the Rockets, if it doesn't work out, you handicapped yourself for a couple years. You did.
If it doesn't work out for them.
Who's taking Fred at 40?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea. Is he a CP3? Somebody who's going to make that big of a difference to your franchise at that age? I don't think that he is. So I don't know who's going to take him, but the NBA is a funny place. It's a very, very, very funny place, man, where people just kind of get these kind of angel deals out of nowhere. I would hate if it was the Pistons down the road, but I don't see them helping out the Houston Rockets like that anyway. But with what they're doing, I don't know if they're quite ready for this stage yet. And obviously, they're going to play the games. But I do believe that they're going to block some of their players a little bit. I don't know what this does for Amin. I don't know what it does for Jalen Green. For us, we get a chance to kind of see our guys be the guys when it matters most. Mm-hmm. We get to see those guys go out there, and we get to know what they are. We get to understand, are they worth the contract or not? There was a lot of times where, in the past, we had a hard time gauging some of our players' value, and it was realistically because they hadn't been in a lot of situations where we could see, they're worth this money.
Right.
I think with where the Pistons are versus where the Rockets are, I think, honestly, this is more an indictment on the fact that they don't believe that all their young guys are is the core. Mm-hmm. Their core now starts with Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, and you got to throw Jalen Green in there. Whereas with the Pistons, their core, even if you signed to Cam Johnson, would still firmly be Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren, which I think is a huge difference. The way in their approaches to this thing, they're just supremely different. And Troy Weaver has been consistent with this. He believes in these guys. He wants to depend on these guys, those top draft picks. He's been consistent in that. So I think he took a chance to say, you know what? If we can get Wemby in this draft, we'll take it. If we can swing big and maybe sneak a guy in here like Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant, we'll take it. But if not, we're going to do the most savvy thing. Get NBA players in here right now who can contribute to this team without taking too much away. They're not going to come in here and be turnover prone. They're going to come in here and they're going to hit the three at a good clip. They're going to come in here and be professionals. Mm-hmm. And they're going to help Cade Cunningham. They're going to help Jaden Ivey. They're going to help Jalen Duren because these guys are still developing, even though we're talking about depending on them in such a big way.
Right.
That's what you need here. Those types of players that if you're going to take a year like this and you're going to kick your free agency can down the road, which next season there are some players that look really, really interesting, especially when you're talking about the CBA and being able to trade.
Yeah, more guys will be available.
Man, and there are some guys on coming up that I believe long-term you would like to be able to add to the Pistons, and we could talk about that later. But yeah, that's kind of the run of it, man. There's like a differences of philosophy, and I think the Pistons believe in their young guys a little bit more.
Well, you don't be careful because if you say Troy believes in his young guys, you're an apologist, and that's not right. So, but anyway, I appreciate you, Kool-Aid, for coming in, dropping facts. Again, check out Woodward Pistons. Check out your Twitter handle. Could you give where people can find you?
Definitely, man. At Detroit Kool-Aid, at Woodward Pistons, and always woodwardsports.com for our latest articles. We got the summer league, the pre-summer league press conference. So I'll definitely get an article out that has some of the kind of top quotes, so that you guys can be informed of what's going on.
And all your information, you can get at Woodward Pistons or on woodwardsports.com. All the Brandon Dent articles about the Pistons, go watch, or go read, rather. It'll make you feel a little better. It will. And he's not an apologist. He's just realistic, and I love it. Sam, could you tell us about our friends over at Lady J?